Well, I first, good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Welcome to this, our 96th edition of Belizean Affairs. Sitting with me virtually as my host is my good cousin Mr. Leonard Brackett and Mr. Roody. I myself, Mr. Gregory Brackett, is the chairman for tonight. With that said, I go straight to my cousin for the prayer, followed by a reading by Mr. Roody.
Good night, Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'd like to offer a short prayer for tonight. Let me just bow our head or just divine loving Father. We thank thee for this privilege to come before thy presence again. We pray that thou mayest continue to listen to our prayers and supplications on behalf of ourselves, our families, and our friends, as well as on behalf of our country, its leaders, and the rest of humanity. Please continue to guide and protect us. Bless us, strengthen us, give us courage, perseverance, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we may present a good program tonight that accrues to the benefit and well-being of our country. Be with us all now and forever, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Gregory. It's a pleasure to be in your company and along with Leonard, and welcome to this 96th edition of Belizean Affairs. And I'll go straight to the reading, Romans chapter 10, 11 to 20. So, for the scripture says, everyone who believes in him will not be put to shame. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek. For the same Lord is the Lord of all, bestowing his riches on all who calls on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed what he has heard from us? So faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. But
Amen.
I ask, have they not heard? Indeed they have, for their voice have gone out to all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. But I ask, did Israel not understand? First, Moses says, I will make you jealous of those who are not a nation, with a foolish nation. I will make you angry. Then Isaiah is so bold as to say, I have been found by those who did not seek me. I have shown myself to those who did not ask for me. But of Israel, he says, all day long I have held out my hands and disobedient and contrary people. That's my reading from Romans 10, 1 to 20.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Chairman?
We want everybody. We want everybody. some of your everybody. Give me some of that cassava. We want everybody. We want everybody. Give me some of your everybody. Give me some of that cassava. Sunday morning, me wake up with me.
Again, good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. And welcome to this our 96th edition of Belizean Affairs. Sitting with me tonight is our aspiring candidate from the Bradley Bank area, Mr. Roody, which I fully support 100%. Mr. Wade, with that being said, sir, it is only fair that the Belizean public hear from you.
My people and residents of the Twin Town, I come to you again as your independent candidate for mayor for change. We are in election mode, as you can see. Any change? And sadly, after it's over, we are back to square one with this two-party system that has us in this struggle in life and divide us. We see who benefits when the People's United Party in power and when the UDP is in power. Should it be that way? No. I will be a mayor for all, not only a few. I will serve you all. I will treat all with dignity and respect. I am passionate for equal rights and justice for all. We are all equal in the eyes of God. May God bless us all as we are still a godly nation. In Jesus' name, amen. And I have with me some pillows as my manifesto. If I get elected, my first priority is a complete audit and make the findings publicly, right? Visit all streets and do a proper assessment. Implement proper drainage system, proper traffic policy, license policy, proper signage on all streets, naming of streets, and proper lighting, which we are so lacking. Putting in speed bumps in residential area, because we could see what happened in the area we live in. The vehicles that traverse around and around, they don't respect, right? So we'll put in speed bumps, fix all streets properly, no band-aid fixes, proper market policy, reduce market fees, proper garbage pickup, free big garbage pickup, free. Animal control policy, abandoned lots policy, a pardon on back taxes for the elderly, create a more friendly town council, renegotiate the tax imposed by the taxes association, and a proper system for the association. Create a clean and healthy town for all to enjoy. Fair in small businesses of trade licensing, right? Because you have people going around and start questioning, people doing little business out of their home. For me, there will be a no. There will be no taxes for people doing businesses out of their home. That's a no, right? And there are lots of, I will make sure that I create jobs, right? I'm very passionate for the youth, very passionate, and single mothers. So, come March 6th, if you want a change, and there are a lot more that can be done, because a lot can be done with the money and taxes collect in this municipality. If you don't steal it, if you don't embezzle it, if you don't put it where it's not supposed to be, this is the chaos that we're going to have, right? And sadly, the only time you see them working is when an election is right around the corner, right? Oh, that's the only time. So sad. So sad. So, with me, if I get elected, it'll be work from day one. I will not wait for when the next election to come so that I could, show that the people that I am working. No, right? I'll put the money where it belongs. It's not my money. It's the people's money, right? So, come March 6th, you deserve better. Elect me, Roody Wade, as your mayor, and for sure you will see change. Right? And if you want that change, I am the only change that will be on that ballot box come March 6th. May God bless you, and may God bless Belize. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Thank
Well
you.
said.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
Welcome back to Belizean Affairs Show number 96, People at Home and Abroad. Tonight's discussion, as we open, we want to deal with the BDS. Is it true or false that they do not have enough supplies and rations when they are out in the field? And to start it off, I go to you first, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Greg. It's as a former member of the Belize Defense Force and one of the first to form the BDF and a former member of the Police Special Force. I listen to these so-called leaders that we have now, 2024, right? The Minister of Defense, shame on you for not. You are a BDF, Mr. Minister. I don't know, but you are a BDF. I can't tell you are a BDF. You're supposed to be fighting for a proper run Belize Defense Force. You should be fighting that they have the supplies they need. You're supposed to be fighting for their welfare across the board and fighting for raise in their salary. Not only you guys should be reaping the fat sitting on you in those offices. Fight for the men and women out that's on the border patrolling, that are out there protecting us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Instead of what lie. Say that they have this, they have that, which in fact it's a darn lie. I listened to the man, Mr. Mira, the guy that got elected in Belmopan. He's somebody in the Ministry of Defense. He said that there's nothing wrong in the BDF and everything is okay, and we only have shortage of bullet, right? And guy, you got to be ashamed of yourself. I say this because I was before you, Mr. Mira and Mr. Marin. I was before you. I patrol and traverses length and breadth of this country before you, right? Now, for me, it's kind of passionate because I'm glad you brought up that subject. And quickly, Greg, on Sunday, I spoke to a serviceman, came to my house and we were talking. And he said, yes, it's indeed that there's a shortage of food and fuel. That's what he told me, Mr. Mira and Mr. Marin and Mr. Briseño. So all these lies that you come to the nation and says is...
Mr. Wade, can I add a little thing to that before you go past that previous statement you just made? Mr. Chairman, may I? Quickly before I don't want him to lose his thought by my interjecting. May I?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. When you said it, the person spoke to you and said that they're short of food as well as fuel.
Fuel.
Okay. Fuel is not something that our defense department should be short of. Why? They should have a book that covers their fuel just like all other government department, and they should have priority over any other government department. Why? They are the guarantors of our sovereignty, and the defensive position that they have to be in requires that they have the fuel needed for that purpose. Sorry for interjecting, but I couldn't let that pass.
Thank you. Truth. Now, Mr. Minister and all of you guys that sits in the chair above these serving men and women, you know, have no shame, you know, right? And every time there is an item come up to so that people talking that you should help and make BDF better, man. Uno come down and uno lie instead of uno accept, right? Uno accept uno shortfall and learn, right? Uno learn, do the right thing, right? One, Mr. Man, uno need to, you know, make sure, like Leonard said, that the security forces have fuel so they can move from point A to point B, from point A to point B to protect uno, right? And this country and we to make sure that they have food for eat, because if they not got proper food, man, you eat your steak and you drink your whiskey and you know, you even have one driver, you know, no worry about fuel, you know, that man, it's taxpayers' money, and I call on you guys to pay these retirees, especially retirees from the BDF and the police, over 2 years and on count of shenanigans, right? Lying again to the people. We don't like to hear about these things, right? Because it's true now tomorrow and come and when say on the news and say with the lie, you say and these people are well taken care of and they don't get paid, and all owner of liar bad man. Please, these people are depending on their retirement money. Please pay them. Some of them going for 2 years. Oh, no shame on yourself, man. And with the stroke of the pen you gave Ashcroft, this hyena of this country, $76 million in 1 way, Brisenio. That's what you did.
Hundreds.
My people, my ex-servicemen and my comrades, they punish. Shame on you. Do better. Equip the security forces of this country. What we got, well, you know, it's nothing much, but what we got, equip them, man. Say no more. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
I'd like to give you a standing ovation on that one, Mr. Wade. I'd like to give you a standing ovation on that one.
Thank you. Thank you there, Leonard.
I
call a spade, you know, guys. You know me. I call a spade and truth.
Thank you, Mr.
We want to dissect this matter tonight and get right down to the truth.
It is nothing out of the ordinary, no? We're not trying to starve the soldiers. I think even you guys know that under the leadership of Minister Mira and I, we're not here to play games with our soldiers. We've been there. We know what it is. But like everything that is modern, obesity is beginning to be an issue. Diabetes is becoming an issue. As a representative, I encounter a lot of that in my area. We're now encountering it in the military. So what we have done is now to hire a nutritionist to give us a tailor-made array of food to be able to help combat this obesity and diabetes that is now affecting us.
They said the Russians have been cut. The budget for the Russians has been cut by like 20%.
Well, nobody informed me of that. I know that I know of. No, I mean I know that every year what the military has requested, we have provided. So I don't really know your source on that one.
How do you make peace with the soldiers though? Because they're the ones complaining. How do you explain this to them?
I believe they have already been explained that by the force. So it's not something new. You know, but I mean, I think also too, with changes, you know, that you will always have some, you know, some people talking about it, you know, but it's overall for the better than like any of us who go on a diet. You know how you go when you take one diet, they're rough, all right? But yes, it is also too, the changes mostly is at least on the camp. Because on the field, well, no, we have to ensure that they get much more calories in, because then they're really working double, triple time. They're burning like some of these guys on a patrol. They burn like about 5,000 calories a day. So there's no shortage.
So because they're saying that they're getting tin foods like tin sausage and whatnot.
Yeah, that's how we serve them. That is nothing new. No, we serve them all that we can get available in Belize, right? But as well too, one of the things we have done is that we're also looking at the brand.
That guy kept
Mr.
that guy.
Brackett, 5 minutes.
Anyway,
Let me hear
I
you on this.
say no
Thank you very
more.
much, Mr. Chairman. Where does this half-baked, overweight clown come off with the idea that we military personnel need to be starved as a part of a so-called health program because they don't want to overfeed them, when in fact the man they know they get in proper ration? Where is this clown coming off acting the part? I mean, this guy they act like a joker, man. You know, they act like a minister who really serious about his responsibility, especially the responsibility of taking care of our men and women as soldiers in the field, living through hard life as service personnel in the jungles. And here they talk craziness about, oh, the obese. When last did he ever get on a scale to check for his weight and ask the doctor to tell him what he need to do so that he not drop from a heart attack himself? Who idiot you think he talk to you? The man then he complain. If the man then he complain, they must have a problem. Those individuals who put themselves up to be that kind of personnel in our country are not people who should be dismissed and disregarded. This good gentleman, I shouldn't use the word good with that either. This gentleman is highly educated as well as highly positioned in our society. His father was a minister, and by virtue of the connection with his father being a minister who almost became the prime minister of the country, he had his opportunity to be given thousands of acres of lands, or the opportunity to acquire thousands of acres of land. While his father was minister of lands, and after when his father regained back that ministry from Mr. Belizean, the current prime minister, when they lost the election, I was the person, Leonard Brackett, that took away the computer from the young lady when I give the computer to carry Stan Creek out of the Ministry of Lands, so that they could disappear all the criminal activities that they were carrying on in that department under his father's leadership. So that who fool him thinking he talk to you? He think we all dead and gone and disappeared? So the people that were supposed to hear where they say, no better? How can our government find millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to deal with Mr. Ashcroft and pay him off, to silence him, and refuse to keep back part of that money instead of paying Mr. Ashcroft all the way? Then we want to get half and get the other half at another time, and use the other half to take care of we country's business and for we soldiers and for we personnel in the civil service, when they cut their salary 10%, and I know they get in a regular raise and all that kind of craziness there. Then they bring all kind of pressure upon we society. While them and most of them are millionaires, I tell you. As of right now, most of them in the cabinet are millionaires. Some of them are multi-millionaires. So as regards to he specifically to the address, Mr. Marine, I'll call him by name. How can he stipulate what he said there just now? He was double talking to the young lady. He said, oh, then they try to put them on diet. And when the young lady said that the man then they complain, he said, oh, well, then they complain because they don't want to go on diet. And because they're too over, well, because he's a millionaire and he know the next meal they come for every day, that means that he not deserve to go on a diet too for his own personal health and well-being. He just does not have the money. The country is basically broke as of right now. They had a budget that the Prime Minister is supposed to produce and read out for April. They don't have the money. They don't have the ability to be able to provide what the soldiers are needing at the field. So then they skimp around and they try play games to stall and outlast the situation till they could come up with some money so they make people suffer in the meantime. Because they maladminister, they do bad governance. They don't look after what is supposed to be priority. In fact, yeah, well, maybe I should take that one back. Then do look after what they consider to be priority, which is to find hundreds of millions of dollars to give Mr. Ashcroft, as compared to spending so much money to take care of the soldiers there, take care of the civil service, who are the ones who are actually earning the money that goes into the government coffers, and finally extra on the side to deal with the food pantry for the poverty-stricken people in the society. These guys who care less, they're not proper managers. Then they try to make excuse. How the hell this man will have such a conscience? Instead, he just acknowledge, okay, well, you know what? We don't have the budget up front. End of the story, okay? Because if the Prime Minister don't have it, he can't. So that means that he has to turn around and try to blame the people for their own suffering. The fact is that the government does not have the money. Why? They misuse, misplace, and misappropriate the money that was available. In one full sweep, then give Mr. Ashcroft, like you said earlier, Mr. Wade, $76 million, what they said they never had. Then find it again. Then they come up with another 45 million US, which is 90 million Belize, for pay up front for the settlement of the agreement that they make with the man. And every year after, they get another $25 million for the next 5 years. In addition to all the other money where they don't get before. They are not about managing the affairs of the country adequately. Then they turn around and make agreement with BSI, ASR, who is chancing the farmers them, stopping them from being able to have a proper agreement so they could deliver in Cane. They can't be out there in the field right now. By the time they really make an agreement with the people, maybe if they're a year or two after, it means that they lose one whole year's crop. Because the company can afford that. Don't produce no sugar. Because these idiots of a prime minister, he gonna tell the company, okay, well, not only are we gonna allow you to do what you're doing, stalling and stifling the cane industry and the cane farmers them, but we're gonna give you the chance to take one news and put it around. Every people in the country will use sugar. We're gonna give you a contract to send abroad, go bring sugar out to your next companies then from abroad, while you do hold on and stifle the local market. The longer you stifle the local market, the more we need sugar from you from abroad at twice the price. Instead of them gonna give Santander one temporary contract for the emergency purpose. These people are just crazy, man. And people, they go along with them and they vote them right back in again when the next election come. A bunch of idiots. I'm sorry, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Mr. Brackett.
People just make me mad, man.
Before I say anything on this matter, let's hear from the Prime Minister.
That's a long-standing issue and challenge that where the BSFA has been refusing to sign a new contract. I think what's important to point out that this is a private transaction, and as much as the government will want to have the BSFA or anybody, we cannot get involved. It is a private transaction. We are doing everything to support the industry. We are setting up a commission of inquiry to see.
Now, gentlemen and people at home and abroad, that was the contract with the Caneros. Let's listen to this piece of video to clarify what we're speaking about.
I don't know about the aspect of hustling happening, but I certainly, you asked whether this has come over cabinet, it has, in terms of making sure that the BDF is properly resourced, meaning all the resources that they need to carry out their work, including, of course, food and rationing. And I think it's important that Cabinet stays on top of it. The Minister of Defense has already stated that the different contracts they've gone out. There's always a situation where supplies may not come into time as when it should come into time, and perhaps that's the situation, but I can't say that there have been any allegations of corruption coming forward on this issue, but we continue to monitor it.
Why blame the soldiers then?
Gentlemen,
Just say that. Anybody
gentlemen, you heard it.
that.
You heard it. That is why I played it here. Mr. Wade, you've been to Price Barracks. I've been there also. You know they have a huge warehouse there where when anything is delivered, they back the truck up and unload them and return. They are shipped to the different districts. Now, if the warehouse is empty, isn't that saying they don't have enough rations? As the minister just said to himself, things might not be coming into time. And whose fault is that? It's the government's fault. So,
but the
why
minister,
are you
Mr.
trying
Chairman,
to keep these men healthy?
the minister for that
Yes.
portfolio was lying. Both of them can't be telling the truth. And I believe the second one, because at least he is honest to acknowledge that maybe something not correct. While the real minister were in charge of that portfolio, instead he go pressure the prime minister to find some money, because when they want to find money, they could find it. Government can, no care where government have been in power in our country. From colonial days till now. When they want to find money, they find money. Mr. Barrow even gone and borrow money from the banks there, locally. When the government wants, that's what a government is. There's no such thing as a bankrupt government. Maybe they have bankrupt ideas as to how about acquiring the funds to deal with their business. Then bankrupt in their mind in terms of managerial skills or abilities or good intentions or whatever else needs to be brought to the table. But the resources are always in the country to handle the country's business. Unless they misappropriate, like I said before, and all the prime minister, all the minister have to do is do like what the second gentleman, the second minister said, come to cabinet and use cabinet members to pressure the prime minister to do what's right on behalf of we soldiers. That's all is required of the minister. Why the hell he and get out there and try to tell the public all kind of craziness about the officers, them who are actually the ones on the line doing the job? Fess up to your shortcomings, man, and stop clung around. Then the prime minister, he want turn around and say, as far as the BSI thing, that the Canyeros, they don't want to sign the agreement. But it's a private thing, so the government can't get involved. Then why the hell did he get involved, pretending that he had solved it and took off to go meet the Pope then? Then he got involved at that time. The problem is not whether he gets involved as part of the government or not. It's how he gets involved. And when he got involved, he went and, like I said earlier, gave the people when they caused the problem the upper hand, one extra contract, so that they could keep making money while then they pressure the Canyeros. I know they try to make the Canyeros then get the quota for bringing in can, so they could get the money for feed their family and pay their bills. The other Canyeros then they owe money to banks and to other places. They could lose their land, they could lose their house, so they could probably end up losing their family over not being able to provide for their family. But these jackals and hyenas, they don't care. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Well said, Mr. Brackett. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about a 2-year contract, it's the same issue recycling itself, and it will keep happening until the government try other means and start to get concerned land involved in localized sugar. Because it seems to me it is a one-way street whenever it comes to foreign websites where government cater to them and not the local businesses.
That's our fundamental problem,
With
Mr.
that
Chairman.
said,
That is our fundamental problem.
and gentlemen, we will head into our next topic, which is a very important one. Is the government trying to silence the freedom of press, or is the government outrightly trying to violate our constitutional rights? Meaning that if an incident is happening and you take out your phone and video, regardless of how gross it is, you cannot publicize that because you can be penalized. Let's hear the first case.
I don't want to acknowledge Hot Off the Press as a legitimate media house, and I'm sure that other media houses can look to this particular social media platform, media house, as carrying out very despicable actions by showing imagery and video footage from the nightclub that night that really did not go to prove anything at all, and then to add further insult to injury to make a commentary about how that in some way exonerates the individual. I just find it to be downright unacceptable and despicable.
How frustrating is it that this media outlet, if we could call it such, is trying to go to such lengths to maybe undermine the victims in this case?
Yeah, I had a discussion just now over at National Security Council about establishing regulations for the media. There has to be some control because we know every single day a new media outlet pops up online with no sort of accountability or transparency to see who are the actors behind these websites, behind these social media pages, and we don't know whether these are legitimate media houses, and so there has to be some action taken by the Belize Broadcasting Authority to put in place legislation and regulations to ensure that we can get rid of these types of social media pages that are using it, like you rightly pointed out, for the totally wrong purposes, undermining the police work and also trying to further the personal agenda of one individual.
Now, gentlemen, you heard that. While in some cases I agree with that, does the government have the right to silence our constitutional rights? Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman,
Mr. Brackett.
before I do your reading, I just want to address this gentleman. I keep trying to call this gentleman, I keep trying to be civil when I'm talking about these hyenas conduct, you know. But let me stick to the point. This gentleman is a lawyer, and I think I pointed out quite a few times before on my show in terms of comments that I've had to address that comes out of this young man's mouth, which first processes in his head, apparently. And for whatever the reason, all the law or legal education that the gentleman had, or apparently should have experienced and acquired some kind of a familiarity with, he seems not to be able to do that. He's more moved over unconstitutional conduct of his own and trying to paint it as being a positive reflection of what's right or wrong as compared to what his legal training should guide him to reflect. I don't have a problem with him having a personal perspective, but he's also a minister besides being a lawyer. He is intimating and talking about trying to use the powers of governance and the state authority and the policies of state to be hauled and pulled to justify his personal perspective, which is unconstitutional in the first place, which he should be able to recognize. Thus, Mr. Chairman, let me defer and let me let you. Let me give. I yield back I yield back, sir. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
So I could maybe read your thing when
Now,
you're ready.
Mr. Wade.
Focus on that, because.
Mr. Wade, I will have you do that last, Mr. Brackett.
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Mr. Musa is complaining about a video that was shown in regards to an incident. And while I do agree in some cases that media house should have some privacy, I disagree that because of that incident you want to regulate our constitutional rights. Because then if that is so, karma is a big deal. You can't have your own cake and eat it and want everything else. Because then what happens to this video from the same nightclub?
The law does give one the opportunity to make a preemptive strike. I noticed that many people are saying that it was the other young man who fired first. But if you see a man coming towards you with a gun in his hand, in a rage, are you going to wait for him to shoot you before you shoot back? You might not have that chance. So the law do give you that opportunity to make a preemptive strike. I could understand what the mother of Trevor Brown is saying, and I don't want to say nothing to offend her. She have a right to say what she's saying, but we can only be guided by the facts as we see them. And
So in other words, it is okay for the government to show those videos. But it's not okay.
But the minister himself said,
public,
oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman, the minister himself said,
go ahead.
There was nothing bad about the video. So why he's so worked up over it? Why? Because somebody dared to add some comments or information or whatever that he disapprove of, or that his intimation and interest is to have the person who is the accused to stay in the dark and be prosecuted without the public know where went on, because it's a political figure and an nemesis of his. That's what his agenda is all about. He confessed himself that there was nothing important on the video. So then why complain about it? We saw the video. There was nothing wrong with the video. It wasn't like a mass murder. In fact, the video that you show with what the commissioner commented on didn't show no shooting. We know some shooting took place. So your point about
it did show it.
Your point about discretion by the media house that run that tape was valid, right? They show certain things, but they never show the gruel, some part about the guy getting shot and dying and going there and take a picture while he was slumped over, dead and all. So that particular media house exercised exactly the judiciousness that you were saying that media house should have. I applaud that, because that's professionalism, right? The other one did not show any criminal activity either. All it showed was the lot of people in there at the establishment, and to show what was happening at the establishment was a lot of people congregating and drinking and have whatever, right? But nobody didn't get hurt at the establishment. Nobody never gets shot there. Nobody wasn't carrying on no kind of rowdy behavior. So how can he be so emphatic about the display or showing of that particular clip as compared to the other clip that's referring to murder? But I'll give it back, Mr. Chairman, because I know you had a reason why you say that particular tip.
Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
These guys are just clones, man.
As all politics, right? That what he's talking, what the Henry Charles and this guy is talking, the two brothers talking, gonna lead up to something, They're gonna pass some kind of draconian law, right? It's leading up to that. And who will it hurt? Who will it hurt?
Not them.
Okay.
Not them. They're immune.
So, you see that tape you play there, Mr. Chairman? You remember that charade with the guy out from the key, the red guy, the who became minister, the baker.
It's weird. I know you have nothing more about that yet. I still listen carefully enough to try to pick up something. I know you have nothing about it.
Help me with the name, guy. I mean,
I don't want to call the wrong name.
But anyway,
no, it's not ours.
Anyway, that guy, that
Sir, Mr. Wade, you can't remember because the Attorney General is still investigating.
Oh, yeah. That, but
then don't have a file. Wait, Mr. Wade. But then don't have a file on the one where the man were in the show just now. Then don't have file. And these people are criminals.
I just want to draw a scenario, and my people, you decide, man, because that man say, well, after we no educated and we stupid and with this and with that. But we have a lot of educated people, right? And who could draw their own conclusion, right? And see it for what it is, You see the length and breadth. Even the Prime Minister of this country, according to the victim, the female victim from that
he was
individual
trying to victimize the victim again.
I think she's an attorney too. I don't know what kind of attorney.
But he spoke and tried to victimize her again.
But you see the length and breadth the Prime Minister went even to have a confrontation with that lady, right? And what she could be liable of. I just want to draw the attention back to that scenario.
I hope people pay attention and remember.
So, like you says, Greg, karma. And for me, what good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't care who the hell you are, right? But if you're wrong, you're wrong, right? If you're right, you're right. That's in my book. So, like I say, these guys,
moral and ethics.
It's all about politics, right? It's all about politics and try to discredit. UDP does the same thing because of their agenda, right? So, same crap, right? And who are these guys to say, to try and disenfranchise people of their constitutional right, their God-given right?
That's the bigger problem.
Right? You want to tell me I can't take out my phone and video? Or you want to tell me that I can say what I want to say? I could say it and I could say to it whatever I feel like saying. And if it hurts you, you know what to do. If it's controversial or whatever, you know what to do. Sue me, came in a court or do whatever you want. But that's my right. If it hurts me, I'll say it hurts. They're going to try to silence me. That is so wrong, right? Going to dictate to me, you could only say X, Y, and Z, but you can't say B, right? But anyway, the point is that
power corrupts.
All that, yeah. Like you say, Greg, karma, right? And we'll see how this plays out, right? But the real thing, what they should be doing and what they're supposed to be doing for the people in this nation, they are not. Right? They are not. Political blundering. And like I say, my people, both at home and abroad, look out for the next draconian law that they are going to impose on us poor people. Say no more. Back to you, Mr.
Wade. Let me help you here. The government went ahead to protect their own when they came, and they raised the common assault and put themselves at the bottom of the bill.
Exactly.
If you recall, and people at home and abroad recall, when they claimed they wanted to protect
The
Civil
media,
servants, them.
the
the civil servant,
DPP
and the media,
and the
and
media,
yes,
they input all that to do that. And there's a
and it,
reason why I'm saying this, right? Because I have sit on these platforms before, and I have mentioned one thing that the government was not doing. And I will say it now. I had mentioned before, and we would never have come to the Andrew Perez matter and many other matters, including this one. This present government has the power in the House to create and make law. And I have
Mhm.
said before, with the stroke of a pen, had they made it full blowing, whenever anyone comes and makes any allegation of these types, even if the person does not want to show up, the state pick it up and continue the charges and let them prove they are innocent. And I said it, until they do that, we will still have these same issues. Because had they passed that law, you know what would have happened to Mr. Perez and many others like him? They would have been tried in a court of law. Because once it is mentioned and there is a statement, there should be no turning back, Mr.
Uh,
Brackett.
yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, but we got to be careful though, okay? Because there's such a thing as malicious vindictiveness, hate, vengeance, you know, a lot of different terms that we could use for when people want to be mischievous and get back at somebody else. False allegations we have known to have happened many a times in the past. There have been people who have gone to their grave who were killed, who suffered the ultimate crime of being accused of murder and many other sentences or things that they were alleged to have done, and they went to their grave innocently. Why? In some instances, they lost the case. In other instances, as right now, there are many people who are sitting in jail right now who have not had their day in court and are spending years in jail without being charged. I'm talking about Belize. I'm not talking about United States, Canada, or no other part of the world. I'm talking about Belize or homeland. I know they say that they are not maybe guilty of the crime that they are being held for in remand or on remand, but the legal system does not have the support of the defense lawyers, the money for paying on behalf of these people, the ones that don't have a lawyer or can't hire a lawyer. The court docket is filled with cases beyond the limits and the capacity of the present system. And many people are in jail right now, languishing. And in Colby, let's say, for example, not just in jail, in Colby, right? Sometimes they bring them down for their case, and the case have to be postponed until another time. Sometimes because the DPP they can't come up with the file because the files then disappear for different reasons. Some of them are drug related, that people inside the police department get paid to disappear documents. All kind of craziness. I mean, if we are indict, we should indict the whole system because it is a systematic issue. I would not like to have any of my female family members complain so that somebody did them wrong because I would probably take it on personally when I shouldn't. By law, the law should take its course. But for the reasons that I just stipulated earlier, that is that the law and the system is so bogus and so corrupt and so inefficient and ineffective, and the money is not being given to the system enough to finance the process so that people can get true justice, which is deserved. If you're guilty, you're guilty, and you go and pay your time, because you did the crime. But for those who haven't done the crime and who are accused, that's where we have the problem. And that problem is now being abused because people in high powers and high places are playing the system and getting away with it. That's another one of our problems.
Mr.
Poor man
Brackett,
and poor
well
people,
said,
no
but
liars.
let me say this.
Cases. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. I was elaborating too much.
Mr. Brackett, let me say this. We have the PCC going on, right?
Yes, sir.
And we have one constitution, right? That protects
Should be.
us, right?
No, wait. It should be one constitution, but go ahead, sir.
Well, the next one is not passed yet, thoroughly.
No, but the way these guys
But
are managing, they're not
if
managing
you
with our current
notice,
constitution, which is what I was trying to
if
drive
you
at.
notice,
Right?
we are speaking about the abuse of freedom of press, freedom of expression, and speech. How come is it that in all these PCC meetings, no one seems to want to take up the draconian gun law that is doing exactly what you were saying? Having these young men and maybe young ladies sitting
And other
on
family
remand
members.
for
And other family members.
10 years. Nobody wants to speak about it. But we have these learned attorneys that want to teach the populace your constitutional rights. Now imagine, Mr. Wade, let me hear from you.
You mentioned something there, Leonard, about malicious and vindictive, right? You mentioned those two words. You and I could relate that this two-party system that we have here are very, very, very malicious and vindictive.
Very much so.
Once they are given that power to sit on the seat, trust me, they're coming for you. Either take away your land or plant something for you, or when you want paper from somewhere, they hold it back, or they can't find it, or they're very vindictive, especially this People's United Party.
Mr. Wade, I have been the victim of both of them.
I'm telling you.
Outright victimization.
And I don't see how for the hell of it, my people, right now, 2024, are so blind. But anyway.
I have been the victim of both of them, but I have collected my pound of flesh because that's the way I roll.
Okay. What happened to the ones then that cannot fight for their rights? You understand me? And there are many in this country that the UDP took advantage of because they never support them and they find out that, God they got away how they find out how they vote, right? Or say something against them, right? Many. I know about many. The People's United Party is worse. I'm telling you, right? As for me, I know throw stone and hide. Right? So, and they know that too. Right? I know throw stone and hide. But anyway, like you said there, Gregory, right, that, they're teaching us about our constitutional right. That you see that same so-called, they visit the length and breadth of this country and educate you about your constitutional right. I not get the gist for this thing yet, To every time you go, you hear them there for a different purpose. Right? To everyone at a meeting, they have them a different purpose. What is their purpose, What are these people doing? Right? I can't get it. I can't put because I slow. I can't put my head around what these people are trying to do to us, man. Right?
Let
but
me
I'll
take
say
the
this,
message, man, Mr. Wade. Let me take the message, man, because you are correct.
I tell you what, though. I tell you what, right? That I pray on a regular basis that this same agenda they are on will backfire on them, right? And I hope I live to see it. Right.
I try to put my fist forward with the thumbs down, but I don't get it
Thank
right.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wade. And let's go to it. Following this step, Mr. Brackett, I want you to go ahead and read that stuff that you have there. Following this step.
Certainly, cabinet cannot influence in any way if any charges will be brought against the individual. But I believe the discussion came out of more the social media blogs that are operating as though they're media outlets, and that was the more general discussion where they have to be regulated, just like any media house is regulated. These sites seem to pop up overnight. There's no regulations. They don't seem to have any accountability to anyone. They publish articles, blogs, whatever you want to call them, that it seems that they are untouchable, and I believe that's where the discussion came out. Certainly, that blog having to do showing the video from the night of the incident, talking about the individuals, the persons, the virtual complainants, that borders on witness intimidation. It also creates an environment where other women, other girls may not want to come forward if this happens because they fear that they might be blasted on one of these social media outlets. So that's where the discussion came out, and that's where Cabinet's focus is on, to make sure that they have some kind of regulations in place. The Belize Broadcasting Authority had created a policy last year, and it spoke about regulating these sites. We hope that the legislation comes.
All they're thinking about doing, overreaching again. Sir? All they're trying to do is overreach again. Pretend that the powers that they have to make laws, authorize them to make laws outside of the bounds or the corners of the Constitution. And because they have a super majority, just about anything that comes to them, they can turn into law. But any law that is outside of the bounds of the Constitution, okay, if 100% of them, all 31% of them, 31 of the members of the House, including PUP and UDP put together, cannot trump the Constitution. And they seem not to be able to recognize that or accept that for as many hundreds of times that I've said.
Exactly. And I will tell you why. Before you read that, let me say this to you.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
And to the people at home and abroad, so you can know your rights. There is no expectation of privacy in public. You have the right to take out your video camera, your phone camera, and you can video anything that is happening in public. Right now, the police department and government is looking to put up camera all over Belize.
Hello?
There is no expectation of what? Privacy in where? Public. Go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
These gentlemen in the present government right now are of the mindset that because they were elected with a super majority, they can just dispense with the Constitution and make whatever law they want to make in place of the present Constitution. And unless they can find themselves successful at dispensing with or getting rid of our current Constitution, all their effort amounts to naught except those people whom they can intimidate by letting those people believe that what they're doing is correct, legal, or constitutional. And a lot of people are fearful. First of all, some people don't have money to go fight them in court because they ain't got the pocket of the government treasury at their disposal. So they could always claim that, oh, well, that the government affairs and they deal with. So they intimidate people. And that's what it's all about. They're overreaching with the intent to intimidate. Because, like I said, these gentlemen are liars. They are liars. I would concede to you that there may not be smart and experienced enough lawyers in some of these legal technicalities because they don't probably deal with that type of case enough times for them to gain the experience and the knowledge after losing enough of those cases, and then have to figure out what is it that would make them win those cases on behalf of their client. But at the end of the day, they have senior counselors amongst them, and as friends and or as a government, they have senior counselors that they can go to. In fact, even to Mr. Jerasovic if they want to pay big money. So they don't have to be the lawyers that they are and be as good as they're supposed to be, which would allow them the possibility to be better lawmakers as members of the House, to carry adequate and proper law to the House, to have those laws become legitimate constitutional changes. That's their right and their responsibility. But that's not what they do. They get on the media and try to talk craziness in public and feel like they could intimidate the public by what they're saying. And even what they do when they make the laws that are not constitutional. Over and over and over, they keep losing these cases. Why? Because they want to bully-rig the process with being drunk with power. Overthrow the Constitution, and then you could, say, well, okay, well, working water for them out is the law of the land then. But until they could do that, all I do is just tell them, take a hike. Because they put those bogus laws on the book, but they're invalid. Anyhow, I don't know. I'm sorry for my country and its people. Mr.
Can
Chairman,
you go ahead and read that from me, please?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Man, these people just... Okay. I'm about to read from the Constitution of Belize, Cap 4, Part 2, Section 12, Subsection 1. And it reads as follows. Except with his own consent, that is to say, the consent of the individual, whether male, female, grown-up or child or whatever, a Belizean per se, or I'll go as far as say another human being who is guaranteed the same legitimate civil rights, constitutional rights under our constitution in Belize, so long as you're within the bounds of the country or the boundaries of the country. It says, except with his own or her own consent, a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions without interference by the government. Doesn't say the government, but that's what it stipulates there. Freedom to receive ideas and information without interference by the government, again. Freedom to communicate ideas and information without interference by the government, whether the communication be to the public in general or generally, or to any person or class of persons, and freedom from interference by the government or any government official, as a matter of fact, with that person's correspondence. And do you know what a video broadcast is? Correspondence, right? Communication. The freedom to express and to communicate ideas and information to the government, to the general public, to any person or group of individuals. Where the hell this gentleman who is supposed to be a liar, and this part of the Constitution is like Section 12, the first part of the Constitution. Have you not started to read his Constitution as yet after being a liar for so many years? Or maybe he speed read it, because you have some people where they say they're so smart and then do speed reading, which is just to say, look at the first letter in at the when they open the cover of the book at the first letter of the book, and then go way at the back of the book at the last page and look at the last letter. And if they get to see the first letter and the last letter in the whole book, and call that speed reading. And nothing where the book they talk about gets retained or left in their brains. Maybe that other way happened to the poor gentleman. Because I refuse to believe that his father was such a top-notch senior counsel and prime minister for 2 sessions. And before that, he was a very lucid person, smart enough person to have inherited the prime ministership of our country from the great Mr. Price, which would not have been an easy accomplishment, because even Mr. Marine, who was the senior person back then, who was supposed to have inherited the party from Mr. Price, didn't get the chance to do so. So we know the talk about anybody whenever know the ins and the outs, or they know themselves around legal matters. And even him, the Caribbean Court of Justice ruled on the case and called him a cancer on our society. Do you realize then the degree to which this poor young gentleman has so much behind him that he could have learned from and rise above with all his young talents? And he dare to dismiss our current constitution. Not only are they trying to dismiss it, they're trying to eviscerate the whole damn thing and create one new one. But then still, as of today, they can't figure out how to go about doing that. Friday coming for our next for program Friday, not the Wednesday one. This Wednesday coming, the one after Wednesday, Friday coming, we will be dealing with that matter, with constitutional matters in that regard. So I would like to invite the public to tune in then for us. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. The word is sovereign citizen for the achievement.
Well said, sir.
Mr. Wade, I know you have a passion from where your navel string is. I know you have watched the news, Mr. Brackett. Belize getting ready for balkanization in the south and in the west, and maybe coming in the north, because at your doorstep, Mr. Wade, I saw a video where my eyes in the San Ignacio area was calling on the government to come out there now and talk to them, because they are not down with the proposal. They totally disagree and want no part of it when it comes to what they call their land.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, yes. Mr. Wade, could I step on both of your toes just for a second, a short while? I know I indulge too long, okay? Because I know that I have a bad habit of doing that, but sometimes it's because of critical points that you guys bring up, and I just want to take a shot at. No? So, thank you. Belize is in a crisis of the making of our government officials. Why? Because of maladministration. What you just mentioned about Cairo is not just Cairo. It's also Corozal or Intwak. It's also Toledo and Stan Creek. And I would dare say it's also Belize. And what we're witnessing in bits and pieces is what I had predicted and spoken about many years ago, and I'm still speaking about as of today date that we're having this conversation, which is to say, there's a foreign agenda afoot to dispossess the Negritos of any and every part of what constitute present-day Belize. And we are being worked on from external sources and powers, as well as internal sources and powers at our highest level of our governance for decades now. It's just manifesting now in bits and pieces what's been going on. The Mayans think that they can harangue Belize and Belizeans and probably import some of their brothers and sisters from across the border, which they have been doing regularly, by the way, to come over to Belize and do the fight for them and succeed in Belize as they couldn't succeed in Guatemala when they were being slaughtered by the hundreds of thousands. In Belize, they feel like they have a better upper hand. So not only are the ones in Toledo, who are legitimate Mayans, by the way, some of them come way back from the Chol era, but also the Cobaneros and the other Guatemalan Mayans. They're brothers and sisters, and they're going to help and look out for each other. And the one them in Cayo, some of them are of the same group because the Chols used to cover part of Toledo, part of Coban, and part of Petén proper. Okay? But there were more of them in Petén than in Belize. So some of them now are seeing what's happening in Belize and how the government is playing ball with the current Mayans in Belize, in the south of Belize. And everybody's thinking, okay, well, they can jump in the game and play the same game too. Because the law is being put on its head. The current government is playing footsie with these people because they make promises to them for electioneering purposes so that the current government could have won those 2 seats. They made promises to some of the Mayan people down there, and now those people want to collect. Simple as that. That's what's going on. But in them being put in a position of so-called strength over the government, and the government continues to play games with them while they're telling us something different in public, because I'm going to tell you, I don't trust the minister in charge of that department. As eloquent as she speaks about the issue, and as pointedly as she is in regards to telling the Mayans them outright that what they are attempting to do will not stand, they're still trying to go on underneath the cover or under the table and play a footsie game with them, which is why these people are feeling so empowered. And like I said before, unless these poor people, they get proper guidance, it won't end well. I recall saying that a couple of times on this show recently. Anybody who thinks I'm lying or I'm not saying anything that's correct could go back and check our shows. They're all there on the internet. They're all on YouTube. All 96 of them as of today one. Free of cost. Double check what I'm saying. I don't talk because I have a pair of lip on my face, and I just want
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. Mr. Weird.
Thank you.
Mr. Weird.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Leonard. Well said. Well said. This whole situation is so dear to me because my navel string buried down right where this thing flare up. Right, that's where my navel spring is at. Right. Now, you listen to the spot guy, the representative for down there. You listen to what he had to say in a quickly an interview. He says, well, after all that flare up, he said, well, the Mayan they come and they settle up in a peachy tongue and nobody stopped there and nobody put no restriction on there and this and that, and all of a sudden, okay, that's number one. Number two, the Ricana guy, I think he lives in San Antonio somewhere. I'm Colombia somewhere. I might be wrong, but he's part of that same action there, right? Mm-hmm. He's part of it.
That's what I was talking about.
Now, I tell you what. Now, it's so sad to see how all of a sudden this lady, Christina, all of a sudden, right? And you see the amount of followers she got, right? But I know everybody there with her lady, on her agenda.
She have her private lands, Mr.
No,
The lady have private
much,
land.
she's no different
She not
from the
convert
rest.
that into communal lands for the rest of people to
So
enjoy.
I tell you what, right? I tell you, right? It's like, you see
Oh man,
what's going on in the entire country now. Little fire, they burn up all over, right? And sadly, right,
not
that
going to end well.
the rest are way quiet, The Creole and quiet, the Garifuna and quiet, the East Indian, my people and they stir up little thing, but the government not study them much, because they're not the mass. They're not the mass. When I say mass, they're not they come out in mass like the Mayas, right? But they focus step on the Maya situation, the Mayan people, not the rest of people, this country. At the time, no.
How much meeting they have with the rest of the country, Mr. Weird? That you know of? How many meetings they have with the rest of the country?
I don't know of any.
None.
Right? So I'm just going to leave you guys with this, Pay keen attention to this government. Pay keen attention to the news when broke and the deal when broke with them. Okay? Pay keen attention. And they have to do it quickly before the next election. Right? They have to do it quickly.
They are doing enough for we name. They are doing enough for we name. The same victims.
And
okay?
My guess, they will get what they want. Right? That's my guess. And they will spit in the face of the
rest
other races, right? That's how I feel. Might be wrong, but I think that's where it's heading. It's a shame. It's a shame, And like I say, it's a spit in the face of the other culture in this country. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well said, Mr. Wade. As I said before, we will start to know, because I don't think that from now to the 6th of March and from the 6th of March to general election, this government have enough time to deal with these people. You see how the Caneros was calling them out. Remember who put you there. So, there's a thorn in the government side coming from these people. I hope they know what they are doing.
Quickly, before
Remember,
give me a minute. I
program.
call on the people
like
down
7
south.
minutes more.
So
would you like to
go ahead?
I call on the people
I
call on the people down south.
Go ahead, sir.
Right? To get rid of this two-party system, because they are the one that has us where we at today, 2024. They are the one. Elect some independent people, right, for change. They're not the only one who will change this country around. Independent. I'm not talking third party. Elect some independent, put up some independent candidate, because some of the third parties are right in line with the UDP and the PUP. They are part and parcel. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them. So elect, put up some independent slate in this country who do not have no ties to the People's United Party and no ties to the United Democratic Party. Elect them. And who are strong in their conviction, love their country, love their people. Find them, elect them. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that.
Mr. Brackett, do you have something to say before I go to Mr. Wade? to recognize our viewers.
Go ahead.
6 minutes we have, you can take 4 of that.
Okay.
Mr. Wade, can you
That's what I was doing
recognize
just now.
our viewers?
I was trying to
I
would like to give thanks to those who have tuned in to us tonight and in the past, want them to continue to support us, right? And to our viewers and listeners, both at home and abroad, I thank you. I cannot see, those who had, text in tonight. I cannot see, but
I could
for
read.
those,
I could read off. I could read them
thank
out.
you. Go ahead.
Miss Sonia Allen said good night, good evening, and I responded to her with a emoji, a care emoji, and I hope after the program to write some additional information. And Miss Sonia Allen also showed an emoji that she's dancing on to, like she's enjoying the program apparently.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sonia. I also sent a care emoji to her. And then we have Miss Rubina Forte, my dear friend and sister, saying good night to all as usual. And I responded to her with a care emoji already. And I'll respond more in detail after the program. Yes, Mr. Chairman, back to you, sir.
I thank you guys for sitting virtually with me. It is always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure on this platform trying to educate the people in whatever way we can when it comes to Belizean affairs. Things that we say on this platform, we always try to back it up using videos to let you, the public, see that we try to be trustworthy. And it's not only based on our belief, but it's also coming from what these politicians say and what our government say. Both parties, we need to hold them accountable. It is our constitutional right. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, I can't resist the urge to point out what the Prime Minister was saying, that it's a private issue between the Cañeros and the factory people. And he got involved eventually trying to solve it. So what was he trying to intimate when he said he couldn't get involved because it's a private thing? He can't have it both ways. And isn't it also a private concern, the political people them, right? That are trying to get the agreement for the company to build up the port, the tourist port. That's a private thing. Why the hell did he get involved to take over from Portico and go negotiate on behalf of Portico? I mean, if it wasn't his baby, he should not be subordinating all government's power to that degree. Because why? In his own words, as we produced it just now, as Gregory said, we let these people tell on themselves. Show how liar they are. And the man was barefaced enough to say that as regards to the Kenyan farmers, them, he can't help them because they have to depend on their own ability to deal with the corporations, them. He never said that for Portico, which should have been the same thing too. Because that's normally these people rule.
Mr. Brackett, we're running out of time.
Yes, sir. They are in favor of helping the corporate people and that they expect to rub shoulder with. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and that's my closing. God bless.
Again, good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. We thank you for tuning in to this our 96th edition of Belizean Affair. Hopefully you will continue to tune in to our shows on Wednesdays and Fridays at the same time. With that, we would like to say good night to you.
Okay, gentlemen, you ready? 1, 2, 3.